What's up, guys? Saturday Night Live. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Uh, Appreciate everybody popping in on a Saturday night, on a busy Saturday night. Hope you guys exercise today. So I just wanted to make this pretty much a Q&A. If anybody has questions, feel free to pop them into the comments. And then I just wanted to talk about a couple of subjects that I've been squawking about lately. Something that, came up with some people here and there. Actually, a guy that I'm working with now, a friend of mine, got me on a whole kick about the electrolyte subject. So I wanted to just touch on that a little bit. And then, like I said, whatever else pops up. So, when we talk about electrolytes, it's like one of those buzzwords, like calories. Everybody's, I have to get my calories in. And then when I say, well, how many calories do you need? Well, I don't know, but I have to get them in. I have to get my protein. What if I don't get all my protein? Well, how much protein do you think you need? I don't know, but I need protein. So everybody just has these buzzwords, and they don't really know. And the truth of the matter is, when I talk to most people, they don't even know what electrolytes are. They watch Gatorade commercials, and they think, if they're going to go to Planet Fitness and jump on the treadmill for a half hour, that they have to guzzle, a bottle of Gatorade, and it's somehow going to give them these electrolytes. It's going to help them run faster, jump higher, be stronger, build more muscle, whatever's going through their minds. There's a lot of slick advertising. And it's not only Gatorade and these other drinks like the Powerade and anything with the name Aid in it. And at the end of the day, they're really just bottles of sugar water. That's really all they are. And that's the attraction to them, because there's so much sugar in them. You get that dopamine hit, you get that little bit of sugar high, and, obviously the taste, and that's what we're attracted to. And you think, because they use these buzzwords like electrolytes, that it's somehow going to be healthy for you, and it's going to help you out. And they also sell these, these pre-mixed powders, where you drop them in your bottle of water, you shake them up. And once again, you drink these down, and, you're going to run faster, jump higher, and everything else they promise. When it comes to these, sugar drinks, the Gatorade, the pre-made drinks that you get, the Powerade and whatnot, again, they're just going to be they're not only detrimental to you, they're not only bad for your health, they're expensive enough. But when you look at these pre-made packets, and I'll show you one, probably, in my opinion, I hear about it a lot. I never knew about it until this friend of mine brought it up to me. But crazy expensive for what amounts to really trace amounts of salt. So it's really ridiculous. And people talk about, oh, it's so expensive to eat healthy food, and yet we'll throw money away on just useless stuff. These electrolyte drinks, all of these sugar drinks, the Gatorade. I was in the gas station the other day, and you'll always see the sign, 2 bottles of Gatorade, 2 for $5 or 2 for $6. It's not cheap, and again, the pre-made powders are just as bad, if not even more expensive. So they're a little ridiculous. So electrolytes what they are is just minerals, right? And the big 3 that you hear about all the time are going to be sodium, which the body needs, or you'll be dead. In a nutshell, right? You have to have sodium, potassium, and magnesium, right? So, salt being the big one, the sodium, it affects a lot of things in your body. The magnesium has a lot of jobs in your body, over 300 different functions in your body. So if you're low on them, it does affect you. It affects muscle contraction, muscle relaxation, cognitive function, so many things, right? And when would you need them? If you're a high level athlete, you're outside, you're doing endurance sports, and you sweat a lot, and that's what happens when you sweat. You do lose the salt, and the potassium and the other electrolytes, and you do want to replenish them. But again, these people that are going to Planet Fitness and you're in an air-conditioned gym, working out for 40 minutes in the air conditioning, really no need to be guzzling a quart of Gatorade. What's up, George? Osiris, my friend Derek, out on the left coast, Ventura, California. Shout out. Is it still after? No, it's a few hours difference out there. So again, when it comes to the electrolytes, most people, it's not uncommon to be deficient in magnesium, maybe potassium. The salt, for most people, not too much, because we get so much salt. We eat our diet consists of highly processed foods, which contain a lot of salt. So most people generally aren't going to be deficient in the sodium. Magnesium, again, that might be a little more, if you tend to get a lot of muscle cramps, you could be deficient in magnesium. All of these salts, the sodium, the potassium, magnesium, they could, if you have migraine headaches, it could exacerbate or trigger them to begin with. They can be gotten from food. The magnesium, you're going to be looking at leafy green vegetables and things like that. Now, the poster child for potassium, you're always going to hear about eat bananas. Bananas, all the potassium is in the bananas. A medium banana has about 400-ish milligrams of potassium. The RDA for potassium is about 4,700 milligrams. So you'd have to eat upwards of a dozen bananas, which is going to equate to over 200 grams of sugar, right, to get your potassium. That's not to say bananas are unhealthy, but people think that if I eat a bunch of bananas, I'll get all my potassium and everything will be good. You can get potassium in sweet potatoes, some other foods. And again, the salt, we get upwards of 70% of our salt from processed foods. Now, if you don't eat the standard American diet and you generally eat a whole food diet, right, which doesn't have salt in it, you can salt up your food, and there's a possibility. Personally, I don't eat a lot of processed food, if any. I try to cut it out completely, and I pretty much do. So I don't fear salt. They vilify salt as if, if you pick up the salt shaker, you're destined to have a heart attack. And that's just not the case. It's not the case. When you're that sick and you're along the way and you do have high blood pressure, there's a certain segment of the population that might have, a sensitivity to the salt, and it might cause an uptick in your blood pressure. But that's not what's killing us. It's not salt, right? It has that effect on you. It could have the more detrimental effect when you're already sick, when you already have the high blood pressure and the heart disease and the diabetes. And then you're eating the standard American diet, which is very high in sodium, right? And then you're adding salt on top of that. Hence this advice, they have everybody scared, and they think that they're going to be, it's going to fix all their problems if they just avoid salt completely. And again, it's just not the case. Brother Derek, how we doing? So, all right, so we'll talk about this Gatorade, right? I just want to put this to bed once and for all, right? So everybody says Gatorade, Gatorade. I'm going to drink some Gatorade. I'm going to get my I'm going to get my electrolytes, I need to drink Gatorade. So let me just pull this up. Okay, so if you see here, this is a 32-ounce bottle of Gatorade, which is what I see most people drinking at the gym, right? For the most part. You'll always see them with the quart bottle, the 32-ounce bottle. Very rarely do I see one any smaller than that, so we're going to go with this. So if you pick up a bottle of Gatorade thinking you're going to get your electrolytes, what you're getting here is a bottle of, again, sugar water. Has 55 grams of carbohydrate and 53 grams of sugar. It's 4 grams of sugar in a packet of sugar, right? So that's roughly 13 to 14 packets of sugar in that one bottle, right? And now you're thinking you're going to get these electrolytes. It's going to save your life. It's going to make you feel so good. And you have 417 milligrams in a 32-ounce bottle of Gatorade. That's roughly, it's a little less than a half a teaspoon of salt, okay? When it comes to the potassium, excuse me, you're going to get 118 milligrams, right? And again, the RDA, the recommended daily allowance of potassium, is 4,700 milligrams. So you do the math on that, how much Gatorade you would have to drink to meet your requirement. And again, these requirements are very subjective. A lot of them aren't even, I don't know where they came up with them, but we're just going to go with them because that's what they tell us, okay? And this has no magnesium, all right? So you're getting 13 to 14 packets of sugar, less than a half a teaspoon of sodium, and really nothing when it comes to potassium for, again, however much a bottle. 2 for $6, a bargain. So they're doing us a favor there. So I highly advise against drinking Gatorade if you need electrolytes. So now this one, this is the pre-packaged one. Let me just bring this one up. Okay, so this one here it's called Element, and this is the pre-packaged one. Now this will give you 30 servings, right? So 1 month, assuming you do one a day. Let's just say you do one a day, at $45. So you're looking at a dollar something a serving. You know, 45 bucks a month, and everybody's always screaming how expensive it is to eat healthy, but we're going to spend $45 for. Now, in each packet of this, you're going to get 1,000 milligrams of sodium. That equates to roughly a teaspoon, okay, of salt, of sodium. The potassium, you're going to get 200 milligrams. Again, the RDA is 4,700 milligrams. So in a packet, you're going to get 200. Magnesium, they're giving you 60 milligrams. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the RDA on magnesium is in the 400s. So let's call it like 450 milligrams. So they're giving you 60 milligrams. So you're going to pay $45 a month for a teaspoon of salt a day with a trace amount of magnesium and a splash of potassium. Okay. This one comes in all different flavors, and then they have one that's dumbed down with no flavor. And you're literally just getting the salt in the packet, the salt, the potassium, and the magnesium. So what I did was I sat down and I did the math. Okay, so I'm going to give this to you. Let's say you wanted to do this on your own. Let's say you do work out, you do some endurance, you're out in the sun. You're really working hard. You feel like you do want to replenish your electrolytes, and it is beneficial. It is beneficial. There's nothing here. Excuse me. There's nothing here that's going to hurt you. I actually do it pretty much every day. Uh, if you're somebody who fasts, again, if you're somebody who's on a whole food diet, who doesn't eat a lot of processed foods, it's probably a good idea to drink a little bit of salt every day, especially if you do some fasting, without a doubt. A lot of people, they'll fast and they'll just do it on plain water, which isn't such a good idea, because that water is going to make you urinate. And the more you urinate, the more salt, your body's going to drop, right? So you do want to replenish that. So it is a good idea. So what I did was I broke this down. Okay, so let's say you wanted to buy your own salt. In this case, we'll go with Himalayan pink salt. Another one uh, that I would recommend is Celtic salt, Celtic, however you want to say it. The basketball players are Celtics, but the salt, they say Celtic. I don't get it. But that has a very high mineral content. Um, and then Himalayan pink salt would be pretty much number 2 on the list when it comes to mineral content. But here you see this Himalayan pink salt. This is a 5-pound jug of salt for $15. Okay, everything I'm showing you is on Amazon. This is pretty much where I buy everything. So this is where I got this. So this was $15 for 5 pounds of salt. And in this jug for $15, you're going to get 855 servings of salt, teaspoons of salt, 855. Okay. Now, when it comes to potassium, you can buy, you can go on and buy straight potassium powder. This I find to be a little bit cheaper. Any salt substitute, new salt, no salt, anything that says salt substitute, all that is potassium chloride. Okay, and in this case, this one is 750, and you're going to get it's actually a total of 9 ounces. But what I'm doing is I'm going to keep with the amounts of salt you're going to get in the element. So at 200 milligrams per serving, for 750 here, you're going to get 848 servings of potassium. Right, so you're well over 800 servings of sodium and well over 800 servings of potassium for a couple of bucks. We're up to $22 now for that. So our last ingredient is going to be the magnesium. And this one I bought for $23. And for $23, you get 2 pounds of magnesium. And if we keep with the serving size in the element product, right, which is 60 milligrams, we have ourselves now 2,283 servings of magnesium. You can do the math on how many years that is, but it's a lot of magnesium. All right. So if we were to buy the element product every month for $45, right, it would cost us $45 a month. And if we did the salt separately for $45, if we spent $45 one time, we would have enough potassium for 2.3 years, enough sodium for 2.3 years, and enough magnesium for 6.25 years. Okay, so and for that same, 2.3 years buying the element, we would spend $1,242. So uh, if you're independently wealthy and you don't mind, buying it and tearing open that packet and pouring it in your water, by all means, I say go for it and enjoy and, be healthy. But if you're on a budget and you're going to complain that and it is, I mean, with inflation today, I would think that most people are looking to save some money here and there where they can. And if this is something that you're into and you're buying this stuff, I would spend the $45 and be good for the next 2.5 years rather than $45 a month. Angel, how we doing, brother? George, yeah, coconut water, fine, it's fine. But again, you have to watch because to a healthy person, it's perfectly fine. There's nothing really unhealthy about plain coconut water. A lot of people, they'll buy this Goya stuff and it's loaded with added sugar in it. A lot of people aren't going to be attracted to plain coconut water. There is sugar in it, but it's not a high sugar content. But if you have somebody that's a raging diabetic, I wouldn't even suggest coconut water with the sugar content in it. I would suggest just plain water with the salts in it. When I do it, I squeeze a lemon into it, and it's perfectly fine. I actually enjoy it. Angel, you're absolutely right. Sugar is the problem. Sugar is the problem. Yet they'll vilify the salt. They'll tell you that you're going to die if you go anywhere near a salt shaker. George, the Gatorade, I believe that was University of Florida football team. Am I right on that? Luther, you beat me to it. Yeah, I think you're right, Luther. I think it was one of the Florida teams. Luther, I can see where you're going there, but the problem is, obviously when the sugar's gonna spike, your blood sugar's gonna spike, right? And then your insulin will spike, and it's gonna force the electrolytes into your cells, right? That's the way it works. But I don't believe that there's any reason. I don't believe that there's. I don't care what you do. There's no reason to be drinking a bottle of, that has 14 packets of sugar in it. If you're a perfectly healthy person and you do it occasionally, obviously no harm, no foul. But we live in a world where 3 out of every 4 people are overweight. Literally hundreds of millions of people are diabetic, pre-diabetic, have fatty livers. They have no business touching a grain of sugar when you're in that condition. But the mainstream medical establishment will tell you it's okay. They'll tell you to eat oatmeal because it lowers your cholesterol, and plain bullshit. It's just plain bullshit. So, sugar, anything in moderation is going to be okay. We don't do things in moderation. The average person in this country eats over 150 pounds of sugar a year. Sugar has zero nutritional value, and it's what we eat the most. So there's a big problem there. There's a really big problem. Yeah, George, if you get the Celtic salt, however you want to say it, just make sure that it's just plain, It just says sodium on it. A lot of times the salts will have caking agents and stuff. You don't want any type of additives in it. Um, so just make sure it's just plain. It's just plain sodium. Luther, I agree. We don't know. We have no idea what moderation means. We have no idea what moderation means. Um, part of it, you know, I talk about this on and on and on because it's a straight fact that they make these foods so hyper palatable that you can't put them down. You just can't. But when really it's endangering your life, it really is. I mean, that's not an overstatement. So you have to have self-control. You have to have self-discipline. You have to realize what you're doing. And I also talk about, if you're a parent, if you have kids, you're responsible for the kids. They'll tell you this bullshit that, your kid has fatty liver and your kid's pre-diabetic because it's his genetics. Type 2 diabetes has nothing to do with genetics. Okay? I can't make that claim, obviously, about type 1 diabetes because that's a totally different situation. Type 2 diabetes isn't a disease, it's a lifestyle condition. You eat and drink your way into type 2 diabetes, right? And they'll have you believe that there's nothing that can be done. There's nothing that can be done other than take the medicine. We'll try and control it. And they keep you diabetic. If you're a diabetic, you go to your doctor and say, listen, I'm going to start fasting and I'm going to go on a low carb diet and this, that, the other thing. Your blood sugars are going to drop like a rock. They will tell you absolutely not. They will tell you don't do it. It's dangerous. It's going to kill you. What'll happen is your blood sugars are going to drop naturally. And they want you taking their pills and their medicine. They don't want to take you off the medicine. So if your sugar's naturally going down to normal levels, and then you're taking metformin and some other type of drug that's going to artificially lower your blood sugar, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. But there's no doubt for the average type 2 diabetic, you could reverse that quicker than you're gonna cure the common cold, without a doubt. But the problem is, and I'm being blunt, most people are too lazy and lack the self-discipline and willpower to do it. They're so brainwashed. They are so brainwashed into thinking, I have to eat every minute of this whole breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I have to get up out of bed and start shoving shit in my face, into my mouth. It's just ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. Luther, you're 100% right there. It's so expensive. They control it, right? The pharmaceutical companies control everything when it comes to the pricing. They have their tactics when it comes to holding on to the patents that they have. They have these when they develop the medications. However the patents go, they have X amount of years before the patent runs out, and then the generic drug houses can start making it. They make deals with them, so they'll actually pay the generic drug houses not to produce it, so they can hold on to it and keep making money. And it's really is. It's just they're making money. They're just printing their own money, and so much of it can be prevented if people would just have the self-discipline. And it's fear. A lot of it is fear. If I talk to somebody and say, let's not eat cookies and let's not eat cereal and, fast for a part of the fast. Does that mean don't eat? You mean I can't eat? I can't put food in my mouth? They're literally gripped with fear, right? And it's somebody who's 200, 300, over 300 pounds. They are gripped with fear, paralyzed with fear that they can't put food in their mouth for a couple of hours a day. So it really is sad. That's right, Luther. We all need that dopamine, right? Where whether it comes from the food, whether it comes from your phone screen, whatever else you're addicted to. You're right. The dope off right, the fork, the spoon. You're absolutely right. And case in point, guys, I mentioned something. I put out an exercise video today, and I mentioned something last night about the amount of sugar that you know. Talk about what we eat. I mentioned the Gatorade. People don't realize, that one bottle is 200 calories. That's a lot of calories to drink in one bottle. And there are people that are drinking a couple of those a day. So the amount of sugar, the amount of calories that you're ingesting. So I was looking at these drinks, the Starbucks, the Frappuccinos, and all this crazy shit. So this one here, this is actually Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know if you guys have Dunkin' Donuts around you. But I don't know if you can see this here, but just give you for instance, this is a pumpkin swirl. I can't imagine. Pumpkin swirl frozen coffee with cream. 1,160 calories in this, and 181 grams of sugar, right? So that's 45 packs of sugar. 45 packs of sugar in one drink. How many people are guzzling down one of these maybe every other day, or even if you do it, a couple of times, a few times a week? That's 3,000 calories of sugar in that one cup, right? And that's the high end. They have another one here that's 185 grams, so that's another package. Now you're up to 46 packets of sugar. And you look at the other ones, 99, and you think, well, that's not, compared to the 180, it's half, but that's still 25 packs of sugar. And on the lower end, there's still, most of the drinks are going to have 30 and 40 grams of sugar, which again is going to be, 8 to 10 packets of sugar that you're getting. So it really is, it really is crazy. Yeah, on this, but George, I have a bad habit of, when I go shopping, you see it. It's not even that you have to look for it. You go to the supermarket and you just look at what's in people's carts. You just go up and down the aisles and see what they're putting in their carts. The people with the kids, the carts will be loaded up with cereal, loaded up with juice boxes. It's just sugar on top of sugar on top of sugar. Frankie's 1,000% right there, right? There's a world of difference between a sugar-free diet, and it does affect every part of your life. It does. It really does. And again, back to Luther's point, we don't know moderation, right? So somebody can't have a cup, one or two cookies. I can't, and most people can't. You're not going to have one or two cookies every once in a while with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. You're not going to have one donut. You're not going to have one slice of pie, right? It's almost impossible to do. It's almost impossible to do. I open up a sleeve of Oreos, and within minutes, there's going to be nothing but a couple of crumbs and a piece of ripped up cellophane. It's that addicting. That stuff is that addicting. But people do it every single day, every day. George, I mean, straight coffee, that's no harm, no foul there. Even if you have a little bit of cream in it, um, you want to have a splash of sugar in there. That's fine. In moderation. But to be drinking something that has 46 packets of sugar, and again, I'll go back to the price thing. People say, oh, well, healthy food is so expensive. It's really hard to eat healthy with the prices of food. Yet, and I've been in Dunkin'. I grew up in Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, I would be there every single day. And there were times, the lines in these places, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, any of these coffee places, the lines are out the door, right? You go in there just for a plain cup of coffee, a plain cup, none of this bullshit with 46 packets of sugar. If I want to go in and just get a cup of black coffee, it's going to cost me $3 for one cup of coffee. You know how much coffee I can brew at home for $3? A lot more than a cup. Yeah, George. I mean, and that's the thing that very few people are going to drink. And again, growing up, I've been a coffee drinker all my life since I was a kid, to be honest. Um, and I would always put milk and a couple or a few sugars in there. And when I was doing that, and not only that, but I'd have my couple of donuts with it on top of that. But if you told me at some point I'd be drinking just straight black coffee and enjoying it, I would have been like, no way. That could never happen. I can't do it. I can't. Now, if I were to take some coffee with a bunch of sugar in it, it would really be, I wouldn't be able to handle it. I would find it repulsive, thankfully. But that's why everything has the sugar, and then all the snack foods, they're going to have that balance of the sugar and the salt. If you read up on that bliss point, it's called the bliss point. And they're very open about it. They spend billions of dollars. They want to find that right amount of both, where you don't get to the point too quickly where you're like, all right, that's enough. I had enough. I can't do it anymore. Where they want to keep you eating them as long as they can. So they actually do all this testing with the ingredients and the texture of the snack foods, the way it feels on your tongue. So much goes into it. They don't just throw some potatoes in the oil and then put them in a bag and throw salt on them. There's a lot more. There's science that we couldn't comprehend, right? That's behind this stuff. So that's right, Derek. Black coffee. That's what keeps me going all day. That and my electrolytes. The electrolytes. George, yeah. I mean, and I could talk about it all I want, and people don't listen. I work with people, um, and I could talk till I'm blue in the face, and they don't believe it. What's that? The term? It's so much easier to fool somebody than it is to convince them they've been fooled. And it's staring everybody right in the face, right in the face. And they'll have you believe, don't eat red meat, don't eat eggs, don't eat salt. It's going to kill you. And people are ingesting 150 pounds of sugar a year. Diabetes everywhere. Little kids, fatty livers, little kids. You're going to tell me that a little kid with diabetes or a little kid with fatty liver got it from eating eggs? Look at what kids eat every day. You're telling me that little kids are eating bacon and eggs every day? They're eating steak? Little kids are eating steak every day? Or are they eating Cocoa Pebbles, drinking juicy juice, having waffles, having pancakes, right? Drinking the Gatorade, drinking soda? That's another key point, Frank, that people they don't know how to read labels. They have no idea. I mean, I didn't, I do, and I still don't know. I mean, you tell me, you read some of these ingredients that are in some of that are in this so-called food. You don't know what it is. I've gone down so many rabbit holes just sitting there Googling names of these ingredients to find out what they are. Some type of flavor enhancer, emulsifiers, just things. They have to put chemicals in there for the shelf life. You know, and you try to tell people it's not really food. Like, what? You're going to put an avocado on a shelf and come back a year later and it's going to be edible? Yet they put all these products that are good for well over a year, and nothing happens. And take that whole McDonald's cheeseburger experiment. You put that out and leave it on your kitchen table unwrapped for months and months and months and months, and then go to McDonald's today and buy a fresh burger. Put them down next to each other. You won't be able to tell them apart. George, that's another great point. That's a really good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. All of this bullshit. Again, they call type 2 diabetes a disease. They call GERD a disease. It's because your stomach is so fucked, and the acid levels in your stomach are so messed up, that you're spitting it back up. But they'll call it a disease, right? You take a kid. How do you expect a kid? You fill him up on sugar first thing in the morning, then you send him to school. He's hopped up for an hour or two. Then he's sitting in class. His blood sugar's dropping into the basement. Now he can't keep his eyes open. And then he goes and gets another sugar fix. He's bouncing off the walls, can't think straight. And then they'll assess the kid and say, yo, your son has ADHD. Best thing to do is put him on some Ritalin, right? Or Adderall. All right, and they'll just put them on that. And I asked the doctor one time, I said, well, what can happen? This isn't an exact science. They're treating your kids and you, if you're on any type of medication when it comes to these antidepressants, it's all a game with them, right? Because I said, well, how much Ritalin would you give a kid? Well, we'll give him X amount, see how he reacts to it, and we'll adjust it as we go along. So your kid is like a science experiment. And I said, well, which way can it go? Like, how is it going to affect them? Well, it could make them very lethargic, or it could make them hyperactive. Oh, okay. You don't know. So you're just going to start pumping this kid. And then on top of that, you're going to keep them eating all the sugar, all the bullshit, right? Drinking all the sugar, and just keep pumping them full of drugs. How much drugs? I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go along. What's up, Mookie? Thanks for stopping in. I am on Instagram. Same name, old underscore dog underscore fitness. I don't post too much on there, to be honest with you. What's up, Mr. T? You're exactly right. I mean, the U.S. is worse. We're a world full of drug addicts, but the U.S. by far is the worst. By far is the worst when it comes to it. I posted something the other day. 70% of people between 40 and 79 or something are on at least one, but a high percentage of people are on, a guy my age, like a guy in his 50s and 60s. Most guys my age are going to be on at least 4, 5, 6 prescription drugs per day, at least. It's going to be something to do with cholesterol, like a Lipitor. It's going to be a blood pressure pill. It's going to be metformin. If they're that far gone, they might have them already injecting insulin, turning them into a type 1 diabetic from a type 2. Mr. T, they absolutely are. It's poison. It's just poison. And like I said, I got this straight from the doctor's mouth. Well, it could make them lethargic, or it could make them hyperactive. How much do you give them? Well, we're going to start here, and then we're going to see how, and then we'll adjust it. And it's the same thing with people. Yeah, they have pills for everything, Luther. They have pills for everything. I lost my. I'm sorry. So we're talking about the experimental, with the drugs, the way they do it. So you're on an antidepressant. How much should I take? Well, we'll start you here, and we'll go here, and we'll go here. But then, if you have a bad reaction to that medication, you can't quit those cold turkey, because you really will wind up in a straitjacket. So you have to wean off them. And then what do they say? Well, okay, we have a better one. We have a better one now, so we're going to try you on that one. Well, how much should I take? Take this, and we'll adjust it as you go along. We'll see how you feel with it. And these people are doing this for years. For years. And so much of it can be fixed with lifestyle changes. But again, you'll never, ever, ever convince people of that. If you have any type of sickness, whether it's physical or mental, the first place you go, ground zero, is right here. What am I putting in my mouth on a regular basis? That's the first thing you do. And then you go from there, and you start looking at the rest of your life. Your stress levels. What is your sleep like? But that takes work, right? That takes effort. That gets a little uncomfortable, because you can't eat what you want. You can't stay up all night, right? You can't live your bullshit life under the guise of, I'm not going to deprive myself. I'm going to have a good life. Why should I deprive myself of drinking myself into a fucking coma, eating myself, eating to the point where I have to unbuckle my pants? I'm not going to deprive myself of that, right? So many people, they get this indignation, like, you're not going to tell me I can't do that. And they can fix themselves, but they won't. They'll go to some asshole doctor, some legal drug pusher, and they'll say, I feel this, I feel that. Okay, here's a pill, and we'll get back, what I said earlier. How much should I? Well, take this, and then we'll adjust it as you go along. And they'll just keep popping pills and popping pills. And if they feel that much better, that much better, my doctor's a genius. I went to my doctor, he gave me this pill, I feel better. He's a genius. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's got a slide rule. You feel this, take that. Oh, and you feel that too? We'll take some of that. And then you come back in 3 months. What happened? It didn't work. Okay, didn't work. Now we're going to try that. George, you're right. Lemon water is extremely good for the body as a whole. It's very good for your liver. You throw in a little ACV with that, a little salt. And getting back to the whole GERD thing, people, that's the other thing. People are on, a lot of times when you have this reflux, they'll have you believe that it's because you have too much stomach acid. And a lot of times it's the complete opposite, where your levels are actually too low. So they'll give you these PPIs, Nexium, Dexilant, and all, that type of drug, that class of drug, which you shouldn't. When they first put those out, they were told, like, don't give these to people for more than a few weeks. They have people on them for life now. So what happens is they're actually lowering the acid levels in your stomach further, right? Now your digestion starts in your mouth, goes into your stomach. The acid breaks the food down. It kills bacteria, right? There's a job for everything in your body. If your levels are low, now the food's going to go further down, right into the intestines, but it's going down and it's not digested the way it should be, right? So now you wind up with the bacterial, I have SIBO, and people will talk about that like I caught SIBO. It's something, they don't see the connection to everything, right? I have colitis, all sorts of things, irritable bowel, you name it. And again, it goes back to what's going in my mouth. But you can't convince people of it. You can't. Again, it takes work. You have to do your own research. But to just blindly, like I'm not saying that there's not a place for doctors. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not some kind of fucking wacko that would say, I'll never go to a doctor. I did a video, and for the 2 people that watched it, I appreciate you, talking about diabetes. I'm amazed. I can't fathom the nerve, the intelligence, just whatever it takes for some of these doctors, these trauma surgeons, the things that they could do, some of the things that they develop. But I'm also just as amazed that this day-to-day stuff, they transplant organs, but how many people are getting organ transplanted compared to how many people have diabetes and the GERD and SIBO and irritable bowel and depression and all of this I call it day-to-day stuff. And that's where they're making all their money, with stuff like that. There's no money in healthy people. None at all. Because the food companies would go broke. If everybody was eating eggs and meat and vegetables and fruits, the big food companies would be broke. Pharmaceutical companies would be out of business. If a guy my age, the average guy my age, wasn't taking 5 or 6 medications. We're their bread and butter. And if you're healthy, you're no good to them. They don't want you healthy. These companies want you breathing. Because as long as you're breathing, there's a revenue stream. If you're dead or if you're healthy, then it dries up. They don't want that. Now, you can make the case, are they evil for that? Or they're a business. Businesses start up to make money. That's the one reason why anybody would start a business. Because I want to make money. And they will do it at all costs. So the food companies aren't developing these snack foods and all of this processed foods thinking, how can we make something good, something cheap, and something that's going to keep these people healthy? They don't give a flying fuck about your health. One thing, maximize profits. Do that by producing cheap food that's going to keep people eating again and again and again. And the pharmaceutical companies, when the sickness comes from this eating this way for years and decades, once the shit hits the fan on that end, the pharmaceutical companies step in and they start treating symptoms. They don't go to the cause. A general practitioner, you go to a doctor, will never go straight, they won't work backwards and go to the cause. They will treat the effects. My grandson is 4 months old. And this week I was down with him and he was congested and, a little bit of a fever. Now for the past 3 years, what's the word we've been hearing every place you go? The mask, the this, don't sneeze on me, 6 feet away, it's going to kill you. It's going to kill you. COVID everywhere, right? Now they're starting it up again. COVID's coming back. New strains of COVID. Get your booster. This, that, the other thing. So you bring now a 4-month-old with the runny nose, coughing, fever. Could or could not be. No mention of that word. The minute my daughter brought my grandson into the doctor, the first thing he said was, okay, we're going to give him an antibiotic, amoxicillin, Tylenol drops for his fever, albuterol, which is a bronchodilator to open up his lungs to help him breathe better. Put this in a nebulizer. Put it in his room, however that works. My son-in-law said, well, we're not too keen on giving him antibiotics right now if we don't have to, because when he was born 4 months ago, they gave him a very high dose of antibiotics because they thought he might have an infection back then. That's devastating to an infant because it really destroys their immune system. It kills all the bacteria from the second he was born. Thankfully, he was breastfed, and so hopefully he was getting better. But the point of my story is, the first thing the doctor said was, okay, these are the symptoms, 4 months old, this is what we give him. And when my son-in-law expressed this concern about giving him the antibiotic, then he said, well, tell me a little bit about his history. What happened? After he, was going to give him all these medications, he didn't walk in the door and say, okay, he's 4 months old. What's his history? Has he been sick in the 4 months? How did the birth go? How was he? Nothing. It was, I have a snot-nosed 4-month-old with a fever. I'm going to give him this, this, and this, and move on. And it's the same thing with an adult. They will never work backwards to find out the cause. They will treat the effects over and over until you take your last breath. They will do what they can do just to keep you breathing and keep you paying. And again, are they evil people for that? I don't know. It's a business. They want to make money. Derek, I missed existing conditions. If you're still there, just tell me what did you mean by that, existing conditions? Guns right back at you, my friend. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. Bad Body, appreciate you. Everybody check out Bad Body Not So Fit. This guy's a monster. One-arm push-ups and whatnot. He's a beast. Make sure you check him out. Bad Body Not So Fit. Yeah, Derek, exactly right. I mean, the things in life that cause the most stress, and a lot of times it is relationships. I can attest to that. With whoever, you know what I mean? But again, that's the lifestyle stuff that people are so used to their comfortable lives, and they're comfortable with the eating, with the drinking, because they firmly believe that life should be, and it should be. I mean, you shouldn't be miserable in life, but you shouldn't be sick either. And that's what I try and get across to people. It's not normal. It's not normal to be obese, to be overweight. You have to work on yourself. You have to do some self-development. physical exercise, exercise your brain, meditate. I'm a big proponent of, and I wasn't this way in my younger days, and I wish I was. Would have saved me a lot of grief. Just I have no issue. I have no issue cutting people out of my life. None whatsoever. If I get an iota of stress from somebody, undue stress, I have to cut you out. Life's too short. I'm going to be 60 in a few weeks. I don't have time to bullshit. It's not to say that I want to be a heartless bastard and not help somebody. But the truth of the matter is, most people don't want to help themselves. They want to complain. And they want to tell you they want to help. They want help. They want to tell you they want to change. They like people to sit and listen to them and believe their bullshit. And some people do need help. And, if I'm in a position to help anybody that I can, I would. That's not what I'm trying to say. But a lot of times you can just see through people. Do they really want to change, or they just want to talk about it? And if they do, I can't be drugged down into their drama, into their bullshit. I just can't. So, again, you're right, Derek. I mean, there's so much, and it's lifestyle. Everything, not everything. I shouldn't. That's not a good word. Can't use those superlatives. Always, everything. There's always exceptions, but generally speaking, all of this sickness that's going on, everybody that's jammed up. If you just look at your lifestyle, and I'm a big proponent of going right to, because it affects you. It affects you. The booze. I didn't realize the damage, especially in my younger days. I thought I was bulletproof. I thought I could eat and drink what I wanted. And I did. I worked out pretty much my whole life. I mentioned before, like I got my first gym membership when I was 18 years old, and I worked out before that in high school. I was in law enforcement for 32 years, and so I always exercised to some degree. And I always thought that the exercise was the cure-all, no matter what I did. No matter how much I ate, no matter how much I drank, no matter how much stress I was under, if I just got to the gym for an hour, it would relieve everything, and everything would be good. And I thought that was the case because a lot of times I did, and I was never an obese. I was definitely overweight for me. At my heaviest, probably like 40 pounds heavier than I am right now. But I reached the point where things just got like totally out of control. My blood pressure started going up. I didn't feel good, had a lot of inflammation in my body, just a lot of stuff going on. And I knew something had to give. And again, I talk about, if you have kids, you have to be a role model. My son was overweight at the time. And I can remember the day when I said enough's enough. I was laying on my couch, hungover, just being a fucking slob. And my son came in to talk to me, and we were having a conversation, and he was standing over me. And I just looked at him and I said, this can't be. It's not gonna, it can't be. That was the day I changed. And I sat down, I had a talk with my son. Thankfully, he was receptive. We started exercising together. And the day we started, it was the day before Thanksgiving. It was the first day. And we did that program called P90X. And we did that religiously. I dropped over 20 pounds doing that. My son dropped 40 pounds, I think, at the time. I think it was 30 to 40 pounds. I mean, he crushed it. So yeah, I got to the point where I said, that's it, enough's enough. You have to be the role model. There's no excuse. None of this bullshit. Well, listen, I worked 3 jobs for 30 years. You talk about burning a candle at both ends. I was burning on the ends, in the middle. I quartered the candle and I lit those ends, I mean, forget about it. But it catches up with you. It's going to get you. And again, when? I don't know. You know, some people might get 30 years out of it being a fucking drunk ape. That's kind of what I got out of it. Some people might get 10, 15, 20. You don't know. Maybe that's where the genetics come. Who knows? But it's not the right way. What we're doing is not the right way. What's the right way? You have to find out for yourself. You have to have the discipline, the motivation, you know, to do it for yourself. Not be lazy, take responsibility, be the role model, be a strong parent. You have to do it. You know, you don't, a lot of these people, you know, they have kids, they drop them off at school. All right, okay, you take care of him for 8 hours. And then they'll go drop him off if they have soccer practice or baseball, you know, and that's it. You know, I know a lot of guys that I worked with, and I mean, everybody loves their kids, and you know, every one of the guys I work with, the kids that played sports, every one of them was going to be. The scouts were looking at him. My kid's the best, and that's good. You want to be proud of your kid. You know, meanwhile, this guy's 50 pounds overweight, and he's yelling at his kid that he didn't. Why'd you swing at that pitch? And what's wrong with you? And meanwhile, this guy's gut is hanging over his belt. Who are you to open your mouth? Who are you to tell anybody what to do? You have no self-discipline. Yeah, that's 100% right, Derek. We're addicted to the comfort, to the convenience. That's exactly what it is. We're addicted to the food, the drugs, the booze, but we're addicted to that feeling. We're addicted to the dopamine hits, the comfort, that everything's so DoorDash. You don't even have to get up off your fat ass and go to McDonald's. You could just take your phone and use your thumb. You don't have to move anything other than your thumb and get all the food you want. They'll bring it right to the door. Thanks, George. Yeah, my son really, he was amazing with that. And again, I'm not saying it because he's my son, but he really did. He killed it. Bad Body, what's your favorite cookie? You a chocolate chip guy or a Mr. T? Yeah, kids are supposed to have snotty noses. They are. They got to go out and play in the dirt a little bit. Derek, yeah. All right, So yeah, okay. I'm a general practitioner, and you do. I mean, and people, you know, not that I want to defend them, but there is a defense there because, if they did take the time to work backwards and go back and tell people, look, you have to change this about your lifestyle and change that. People are non-compliant because they are addicted. So it is. I'm not saying it's not. It's not all on the doctors. It's not. I'm not that blind when it comes to that. I mean, I know people are addicted to the comfort. They don't want to change. They'll say, "Okay, I'll do it," and then they'll come back in 3 months, and the doctor would say, "Well, did you do it, or did you not do what I told you not to do?" Well, you know how it is. I had to do. It's bullshit. And again, it's a lack of self discipline. Um, it is that the comfort and convenience addiction. Um, and people will do. I mean, listen. And if any of you on here had this, I mean, I'm not trying to attack you personally, but you talk about bariatric surgery. Now, I was in law enforcement for 32 years. I worked with, in my department, roughly 200 other people, men and women. Then you had the civilian workers. So I was with around 250 people that I worked with throughout my career. Right now, if I sat here with a pen and paper and wrote some names down, I could come up with 10, 11, 12 people that I know that I worked with that had bariatric surgery. They weren't older people, right? Most of them were younger men in their 30s, a couple of females in their 20s. Now, if you're not addicted to food and comfort and convenience, how could you would rather, if I gave you a choice and said, listen, start eating this way, stop drinking booze, cut the stress out of your life, lose the weight, live a healthy life, start exercising every day, or lay on this table, I'm going to put a gas mask around your face, I'm going to knock you out, and then I'm going to take this knife and I'm going to go in and rearrange your guts for the rest of your life. God made you this way, but I'm going to take this knife, I'm going to knock you out and lay you on that table, and I'll cut you up, and then you can go on with your life, and and they'll take that choice over doing some self-development, working on themselves, cutting out all the bullshit, breaking their addiction to convenience. They'll take that road. Now, I just said I could write the names of probably 10 or 11 people that I know. I think of those 10 or 11 people, every single one of those people that I know that had whatever type of surgery it was, gained the weight back. And then some. I know one woman who had it and was so heavy that afterwards had to have skin removal surgery and had, I mean, horrible looking scars on the undersides of the arms, the thighs, the abdomen. I mean, Frankenstein looking scars. And over the course of the next 3 to 5 years, gained back every pound and then some. After all that. If that's not an addiction to comfort, convenience, and food, I don't know what is. To put your body through that and then go back to the exact same thing you were doing. And that's the other thing. They don't teach these people how to eat. They don't. Because almost every one of them that I spoke to, and they would do it. I mean, I worked with them. I was there with them. I saw them. Well, I can't have a slice of pizza, but I can cut this much of it. I can have this much ice cream instead of that much ice cream. They were eating the same shit. They didn't teach them how to eat. They didn't teach them how to then go on and live a healthy life. In their minds, they think, okay, well, my stomach is that big, so I could still eat what I want, but my stomach is so small, it's going to tell me to stop. So everything's good. I'm cured. They don't teach them anything. They don't change anything. They don't improve themselves mentally, physically. They don't do anything. They get carved up and then they go right back to that bullshit lifestyle. They learn nothing. I'm trying to think if anybody, no, I don't think anybody that I know that had that, went on to be healthy after that. They all gained the weight back. See, there you go, Derek. I mean, yeah, absolutely. She's by far the exception to the rule. By far. But my point is now, again, why don't they do it? Is it because they know, they know the way people are? And I don't know, you could make a case either way. But somebody like your wife who walks in there and says, you know what, let me try and make the changes. Let me see what I could do without the medicine first. And then succeeds. They don't see that. You talk about a diamond in the rough, a needle in a haystack. That's what that is. People will not do that. They don't know the ramification. Everything you put in these medications. Do you know how many times? I mean, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole tonight. With my mom. I found she was seeing 3 or 4 different doctors towards the end, and they were just pumping her full of medicine. And I would sit and Google these medications. On a couple of occasions, I had to question the doctor and say, well, why is she getting this and this? It says that there's like contraindications with these 2 medications. Oh, well, I didn't give her that. Doctor so-and-so gave. Well, you're her primary doctor. Shouldn't you fucking know what they're giving her? Don't you consult with them? No. So anyway, but that's good. I'm glad to hear that, Derek, that your wife did that. It's definitely the exception to the rule, without a doubt. All right, George. So he's gonna, slim fast and a waist belt. That'll do it. That'll do it. I remember years ago. So I live in Jersey, and we used to we used to get a house. A bunch of guys I worked with. We used to get a house down the Jersey Shore, and that was a 3-month drunk fest. I wish I could had the picture of me standing on a stack of beer. But anyway, so a buddy of mine, and this is years ago. This is before the obesity thing got really out of hand. But this buddy of mine was looking to lose weight, and you talk about wanting to change, but not really wanting to change. He was a big beer drinker, so he said, "Well, I want to lose some weight." And it was the middle of the summer. We were at the Shore House, so he went and bought a case of Slim Fast and a bottle of. He bought a case of Slim Fast and a bottle of vodka. So he would drink Slim Fast with vodka, thinking that was going to help him lose weight. Needless to say, it didn't work. It just got him a little drunker. But anyway, that Slim Fast is shit too. That's loaded with sugar. I haven't looked at the ingredient. I can remember some time back looking at that. That's another scam. And any of those things. There again, talk about, I want to change, but I'm not going to change. You have to learn how to eat. You have to learn what foods to eat. But people don't want to put the effort into that. They'll look for the hack. I'll just drink these shakes. I'll take some type of pill that I'll take green tea extract, or I'll take, I'll drink Slim Fast, or I'll drink something that I think is going to make me skinny. And I could still do what I'm doing. I'm going to still do what got me fat. But if I take this, then that's going to make me skinny. They just don't see it. They don't see it. You have to change. Uh, Luther, I'm sorry I missed this one, so I'll switch gears for 1 second here, guys. Uh, yeah, recommendations on the pull-ups. I mean, do them, number one. But number two is, I advocate those bands all the time. I think that that's the way to build. It's the way I did it. I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, but, um, think about it. If you go to a gym and you put 300 pounds on a bench press and you've never bench pressed before, what are the odds of you being able to bench press that 300 pounds? Probably not too good. But if I take 200 pounds off of that and now put you on a bench with 100 pounds, you're probably going to get a few reps. And then after a few weeks, then we'll put another 5 or another 10 on each side, and you build your way up. So it's the same principle with the pull-ups. Let's say you're a 200-pound guy, right? And don't forget, pull-ups are king. So the only thing you're not lifting in a pull-up is your hands, because they're resting on the bar. Every other inch of your body, every other pound of your complete body weight, you have to pull up. So those bands are just like taking the weight off of the bench press. It's going to lower your body weight, and you're going to pull up less. So you start with that heaviest band, wherever you can get, in that 8 to 10 range of good pull-ups with the band. The best form you can get, 8 to 10. When you start going over 10, then you can move down to the next band and just progress that way. And you'll progress quicker than you think. Add to that, after you do that, again, this is my suggestion. These are things that I did. You could do static holds. And then at the end, when you're completely fried, when you're done with your workout, just do some dead hangs without the band. Just get on the bar and hold it, for as long as you can. Whatever it's going to be, 10 seconds, 15, 20, 30, however long you could do it. Rest for a minute and then come back and do that a few times when you're done. And that's going to help build up your grip strength. It's going to help build up the forearm. But again, it's just like with everything else in life, like with lifestyle, there's basics, there's fundamentals, just things that you do. And that's what it is. When you're building yourself up, you do any type of exercise, you want to build muscle, you want to build strength, it's progressive overload. They talk about that principle, progressive overload. You start here, and then you progressively add more and more and more, and it works. That's why they call them fundamentals, because they're the basics and they work. But everybody's trying to reinvent the wheel. So that's what I would do, Luther. I mean, and do them often. Not every single day, obviously. You have to rest. But in the beginning, I don't know if you have a pull-up bar at home, you could grease the groove and do a few reps every once in a while. But if not, maybe every other day, maybe 3 days a week, at least 2, probably I would say 3. Get on that bar and do some pull-ups. Use the bands. And again, I mentioned before, everything I buy is on Amazon. And they have all sorts of sets. You could buy a set of 3 bands, 4 bands, 5 bands. I just bought a set of 6 bands. I just bought a new set, as a matter of fact. And it has 6 bands in it. It has every width you could imagine. And the one that I got was like $30. You're going to spend between $20 and $30 for the bands, but I think it's a good investment. And you can get a doorway pull-up bar for the house if you don't have one already. That's not a big expense, and they're pretty good. I mean, I have one that I was using even when I was over 200 pounds, and it was solid, hanging in the door. So again, that would be my suggestion to you. I hope it works out. Let me know. Yeah, You're right, George. I mean, how could I think there are some people that are just that oblivious. I really do. But there's a good percentage of people. There's a faction that just says, "Fuck it, I don't care. It feels too good. Um, I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care. Just give me my pills." Um, I mean, I thank God every day that I don't have that mentality. Um, I'm not saying I don't struggle. You know, I say it all the time. Um, I'm no different than anybody, but the only thing is that I know what I want. Well, more than anything, I know what I don't want, right? And I don't want to resign myself to mediocrity. Like I don't want to be. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, um, and he was talking about, he's struggling with his diet, uh, and he was in a situation where he was out and with other people, and basically, I forget how he worded it, but it was sort of like, well, you're there, everybody else is having it, so you have to have it too, basically. And I don't give a flying fuck what anybody's eating. I could be in a room with 1,000 other people. I don't care. I don't care what they're eating. I don't care what they're drinking. If it's something that's not going to get me to my goal or keep me where I want to be or get me to where I want to be, I don't give a fuck in plain English. I don't care. I'm not going to let it alter. I'm not going to say, well, you know what? They're having it, so I better have it too. If they're all having it, if the masses are doing it, there's a really good chance that it's not the right thing to do. A really good chance. So even if you don't know right from wrong in that situation, if you look around a room and you look at what everybody's doing and you do the opposite, you're probably going to be okay. George, I don't know. I'm not. That's something like the alkaline. I don't know if that's another. I can't call it a gimmick. I've never really looked into them. Uh, I don't know how that's going to change the alkalinity in your body. Uh, I mean, you look at the strength of your stomach. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't. That's not something that's on my radar, to be honest with you. Maybe at some point, if it pops up, I'll take a look at it. But alkaline water, it's not. I mean, I have a filter here. My house, I have a well, and I just use a filter, and I drink the well water. Other than that, if I drink bottled water, I'll get spring water. So no, I'm not gonna. If there is any benefit to that, I'm sure it's way overpriced. I would think anyway. It's one of those gimmicky things. It could be. I don't know. I'm talking out my ass right now. I'd really have to research it and see and get a real opinion on it. Mr. T, I don't even want to say this next sentence because I know it's the kiss of death. But I haven't been sick. I had COVID some time back. I took a little bit of a break there. Not too long though. I didn't have it that bad. When I did take a break, I had no choice. Maybe it was last summer or the summer before. I had Lyme disease. That knocked me on my ass. Seriously, that was brutal. I was out of commission for a couple of weeks with that. That crazy symptoms with that Lyme disease. But generally, if I feel a little stuffy or a little cough, I try not to let that get me down. But thankfully it's not too often that I could think of. Other than that COVID spell, maybe I was out of action for a week with that, and then I got right back into it as soon as I could. But the Lyme the lime was the one that really sticks out. That really killed me. That was a rough go. I don't wish that one on anybody. All right, guys. If there's no more questions, I think we'll wrap it up for the night. Appreciate everybody being in here. If you guys happen to be up tomorrow morning at around 10 a.m. Eastern, make sure you check out the Game Bros channel. We do a live there every Sunday morning with my friend here, Derek, Double Osiris, Gus from Game Bros, Aldo from Crusades of Motivation. Make sure you check out their channels. And I guess we'll leave it there. Again, I appreciate everybody that popped in, listening to my rant. Hopefully we'll do this more often. Again, it's been a while since I did one. So everybody go have a good night. Make sure you get some reps in. And again, I appreciate you all for being here, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.